Top 5 worst rides to ride at Disneyland if you're big and tall. Let's take a look. Hey Dixie Dusters, and welcome to Dixie Hollow. That's right, we are actually at home today. Yeah, there's a few days where we don't go to Disneyland, but Mommy is actually on an airplane right now flying to North Carolina for work, so it's just me and the kids, and they are currently downstairs, Netflix and chill, and so I figured, you know, now's the right time to do a video that I've actually, honestly, been wanting to do for some time now. For those of you that don't know or can't tell from our videos, I'm actually a rather large human being. I'm about 6'5". I'm honestly closer to 6'6" than 6'5", but I just say 6'5". I don't know, I guess I have a desire to be shorter than I actually am. And about 275 pounds. I played American football growing up and in college, so large. And being the size that I am, there's certain rides at Disneyland and honestly at every park that just weren't typically designed for someone of my size. And I know there's quite a few of you out there probably in the same boat as I am, and there's really not that many top 5 lists on YouTube for Disneyland. So I noticed that the other day when I was searching, and I was like, you know, that's something that I would have liked to know prior to my first visit, just to have been aware. So here we are. Decided to do a list of my own. I had every intention of this being simply a top 5, but as I put the list together, there was a few others that came to the forefront. More of an honorable mention type category, because there's certain things with those that doesn't lend them to being with the other 5 that I have. So I've actually got 3 honorable mentions to go along with my top 5. So let's start with honorable mention number 3. And it's not technically a ride, but it is something that everybody, well, not everybody, most people that come to Disneyland will ride, and ride at least twice a day. Yes, I'm talking about the Mickey and Friends parking tram. While not technically a ride, you do only have 2 options when you park in the parking structure. You can either walk over to downtown Disney and through downtown Disney to get into the parks, or you can take the quicker route, which is you can get on the tram. I say quicker, it depends on the lines, but most days it is the quicker option. The tram is great. However, it's not very accommodating for specifically tall individuals. There's multiple rows, and each row is a wide bench. So you can sit 4 grown adults width-wise in there, not really much of a problem. There's, you know, with our family, there's 2 of us and then 2 children, and sometimes it can get a little crowded when you throw in backpacks that we take, camera bags, any sort of souvenirs that we bring from the parks back on the tram. It can get a little bit tight width-wise, but that's not really where your problem is on this ride. Problem is legroom. Legroom is non-existent on the parking tram. There's pretty much every time I ride, my knees are in the back of the person in front of me, and I apologize if you've ever ridden in front of me on the parking tram. I wish I could do something about it. You can sit in multiple configurations, and I've tried them all, and nothing's just very comfortable. So you know, if you come to Disneyland, chances are you're parking in the Mickey and Friends parking tram. If not, you're probably parking in Toy Story, which you take the bus, but it's got its own set of problems. But if you're riding on the tram, just know legroom is non-existent. Honorable mention number 2. This one is an honorable mention mainly because it's both not good for big and tall people and good for big and tall people. What do I mean? Honorable mention number 2 is The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh. This is found over in Critter Country in Disneyland, and when I say that, if you're seating in rows 2 and 3 of the beehive, and yes, the cars are shaped like beehives, It is an uber cute themed dark ride. The kids love it. Jace's favorite dark ride. Emma is second on her list, right behind Alice in Wonderland. We ride it every time we come, and it is adorable. But so rows 2 and 3 on the Beehive, no go. If you're tall, no go. It can get tight with 2 people. Your main problem is if you have long legs in rows 2 or 3, you're going to have to sit really sort of spread eagle to get to ride it. Now the secret, which is somewhat a secret, not really. With the shape of the Beehive, it sort of angles towards in the front. So row 1 actually has a ton of knee room. So you can actually sit in there, 2 adults comfortably in row 1. I've ridden it multiple times, love it. Never have an issue with leg room when I'm in row 1. So I make it a point that whenever we ride it as a family. We're taking up 2 rows. 9 times out of 10, you're going to be in rows 1 and 2. If you're the big person in your family, jump to row number 1. Honorable mention number 1. And guys, it pains me to even include this ride on this list because there's nothing about this ride that should be in a list of worst. Which is why it's honestly on the honorable mentions and not in the top 5. Because if I'm being honest, it's not really designed for people big and tall like myself. But honorable mention number 1, Space Mountain. And it pains me because honestly, Space Mountain is my favorite ride at Disneyland. It is quintessential Disney. When you think of Disney, whether it be Disneyland, Disney World, it's Space Mountain. And I love this ride. It's a ride that I want to ride every time I'm in the park. And if I get to the park late and we can't get a fast pass, I'm honestly heartbroken to think that I might not be riding Space Mountain that day. But if I'm being honest, it should be on this list. It's difficult to get in. Now, I will say, you find a way to get in Space Mountain. I've found that if you get in and while you're standing, before you sit down, if you cross your legs and then sit down, it sort of narrows your legs a little bit so that you can pull the lap bar down. And that seems to work for me. Now, is it comfortable? It's not that comfortable. But it's comfortable enough where you can ride the ride and not be constantly thinking about how uncomfortable you are. Where some of these upper in the list, you can't even do that. You can't enjoy the ride. I still enjoy Space Mountain every time I ride it. So that's why it's on the honorable mentions list, not in the top 5 list. Again, this is subjective. If I was being, honestly, I guess if I was being objective, it should probably be in the top 5. But it's my list. It's not. Now we're here. Top 5. What everybody's came for. So, getting us started on our top 5 list of worst rides at Disneyland for big and tall people. Number 5, numero 5, Mad Tea Party. The reason this one is at number 5 on this list and not higher up is simply because you could probably be okay on this ride as a big and tall person if you're a single rider or if you have one other person in your party. Where it becomes an issue is when you have multiple people. In my case, 4, 2 adults and 2 children, and you're squeezed into that teacup. And it's been the start of many argument when the kids want that teacup to go spin faster and faster, and Daddy's legs are in the way. So, again, number 5 on my list. We still enjoy it every time we go, especially at night when the lanterns are on. We'll try and ride it. This is one of those rides where the first time we rode it, I don't know how we were situated, but it wasn't that big of a problem, or maybe we just didn't realize it. Every other time, it's been a massive problem. So, number 5, Mad Tea Party. Number 4, Autopia. Autopia is an original. Well, I say that. I need to go back and look. It's been there a long time. The Autopia in Disneyland is better than the Autopia at Disney World. I said it, Orlando peeps. It is a better ride. It's better themed. It's longer. The cars look better. It's all around a better experience. You go off. There's a little off-road section. I say off-road. It looks off-road. That being said, it suffers the same problem that the Disney World ride said. It's not made for large, especially tall people. Luckily, when we ride it, my son loves to ride the ride. He wants to drive because if I had to sit where the steering wheel is, I don't think that I would be able to move the steering wheel. I will say it's at number 4, similar to the same reason that Alice in Wonderland, or not Alice in Wonderland, Mad Tea Party is where it's at, is because you might be okay on this ride if you ride it by yourself as opposed to another person. But I don't think that would be the case for me, because sometimes we get in there and Jace, he likes to be steering, but he's still not quite tall enough to reach the pedals. So I'm in there, and for my UK peeps out there, you know, we drive on the left-hand side. So I'm sitting on the right-hand side. The steering wheel's on the left-hand side. The pedal's on the left-hand side. I'm trying to press the pedal on the left-hand side with my right foot because it's wrapped around my left foot. And it's just interesting. So it's not a ride that I really look forward to, but we ride it, I'd say probably once every 4 trips we go, just because Chase does enjoy it and Emma enjoys it as well. And her and Mommy probably have a much better time than I do. Number 3, that would be Goofy Sky School. And surprisingly, this is the only ride on our list from Disneyland California Adventure. I say surprisingly. It was surprising when I first did the list and realized that, hey, I've only got one ride from California Adventure, but I guess when you really stop and think about it, there's less rides in California Adventure, so I guess math would lead that to be. I guess it could be an exception, but it's not in this case. There's only one from California Adventure. And Goofy Sky School is actually a really, really, really fun roller coaster. It's a mousetrap roller coaster, I guess that's what they call those. And it's really fun. I mean, we have a blast in it every time we ride it. But it doesn't matter if you're sitting in the front row or the second row. And there's only 2 rows on each car. Both of them, you don't really have any leg room in it. You still have to do the wrap your legs, cross your legs type deal before you sit down. Even then, you don't have any leg room. Your knees are right up against the front of the car or the back of the seat in front of you. And it doesn't really bother you at first, even when you're doing the tight turns up at top. But once you start hitting those drops and you start hitting those bunny heels, your knees are jamming into it, and it can get painful. I mean, it bruise. It's not a ride you want to ride more than once when you're at the park. So, yeah. Sorry, Goofy Sky School, but you are number 3. So, guys, we're here. Top two rides that were not designed for big and tall people. And number 2 is a little bit special because I literally rode it for the first time yesterday, and it left enough of an impression to make me put it at number 2 on our list today. And that ride is Gadget's Go Coaster. Gadget's Go Coaster is over in Mickey's Toontown, and it is honestly a super cute themed roller coaster. And you know, guys, I grew up and I loved Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers, and it has a little bit of a nostalgia feel when you walk there because they really themed that to sort of mirror Gadget's inventions that she would make on there, where it was very inventive and very genius, but was utilizing parts that, you know, they scavenged around, and it's really, really cool ride. That being said, I apologize. That being said, the cars are extremely small. They were definitely designed with children in mind. I noticed quite a bit of adults getting into a single car by themselves, and these were individuals smaller than I was. I didn't have that luxury. I had Jace with me, so we squeezed into one car. I don't think either one of us were comfortable. I think he was as squished as I was. And the other thing that makes this ride even more difficult for someone, especially someone tall like myself, is the bar does this weird thing where it doesn't open up like to a 90 degree. It sort of sits at like somewhere between a 60 and a 70 degree angle when you get in. So me with my knees already above the bar, and then I'm trying to finagle them down beneath the bar that's already at an angle in the car, just makes it extremely difficult. So you sort of have to bend at an awkward angle, and then you just sort of fall back. And if your son's sitting there, he cries that you're squishing him, and yeah, it's needless to say, I probably won't ride that ride again. I'm glad I rode it once, say I did. It was actually really cute, and it's really short, really quick ride, which I'm glad. I don't think I could have gone any longer. But yeah, it's definitely number 2 on the list. And now, numero uno, number 1. And I'm sure most of you have probably already caught on now. Number 1 worst ride for a big and tall person at Disneyland is the Matterhorn bobsleds. And I know there's people out there that live by the Matterhorn bobsleds, and I want you to know, I'm not an advocate for getting rid of the Matterhorn bobsleds. It's an icon. It's iconic Disneyland. You walk into the park, you see that mountain to the right of the Sleeping Beauty's castle, you know you're there, and I would never ever want to see that ride go or change or anything along those lines. That being said, it's not for me. I've ridden it 3 times in each one of the rows. Now I will say this, I have read that a couple years ago that the ride was really more set up like Astro Orbiters is now, where one person, typically the taller person, would sit down and then the other person would sit down in front of them, and then at that time it had a lot more legroom. It was a lot more comfortable for larger individuals. It's not that way anymore. It's not. There's 3 seats, they're set, and despite what anybody tells you on the internet, none of them have the legroom. It doesn't matter. Yes, the middle is by far the worst of all of them, but the front and the back's not that much better. Last time I tried to ride, I sat down, and not only do you not have legroom in this ride, what puts it over the top is it's extremely narrow too. So I sat down in it, and I could not get the seat belt on my side. So I had to stand back up sort of with my legs crossed at sort of an angle to where I could reach down and grab the seat belt. And I had to pull the seat belt over me and latch it in while I'm still somewhat in the air. Don't ask me how I did this. But the ride started before I got the seatbelt in, so I'm sitting there and I'm scared to death, guys. And I finally get that thing latched in, and I fall back down in the seat right when it's taken off. And I swore I would never ride that ride again, and I'm sticking firm with that. Unless they change it back to the original style, I might give it a shot then. But as it is now, like I said, I don't want to see it go, but I'm not going to go on it either. So, guys, now that you've seen my list, what do you think? Is there a ride that I forgot to mention? I'll be honest, there's a few rides that we haven't ridden yet. But I look forward to hearing from you guys in the comments. Is there something we should have added? Something maybe that you don't think should be on there that I put on there? Let me know. I'd be interested to see. And so that's it for my top 5, which actually is more like a top 8, but it is what it is. It's my list and I live by it. So that is it. And just remember, adventure is out there. Seize your moment. Hey guys, thanks for watching our video. If you like what you see, please subscribe, and don't forget to hit that notifications bell to be notified whenever we upload new content.
And don't forget to follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Have a magical day.